Welcome to True North Perspective. My name is Sean. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia. We're going to take a look at the discussions between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, and just some reactions from the Ukraine side as well, too. Personally, I was kind of surprised at the post. I was surprised at what Donald Trump had to say. It clearly made me feel like Donald Trump was siding with Putin, which I'm sure doesn't surprise you. Obviously, Putin was not very happy with the attacks on the airplanes, and he said that he was going to retaliate. And I would have thought that being the leader, world leader, one of the world leaders, the president of the United States, that you would have talked him into not continuing on with the war and sorting this out. You promised that you would end the war in 24 hours. Then you came on and you said that in jest, which I can't believe that somebody of your stature would say that. And then now, this absurd post saying that he is going to have to retaliate. To me, like I said, it seems like he's completely capitulating to Putin. Putin has not had to give up any concessions. Vladimir Putin is basically wanting to take over whatever he's captured now. He's asking Ukraine soldiers to retreat. On the other hand, Zelensky has basically said, I'm willing to, go ahead with an unconditional ceasefire, but you have to abide by the ceasefire. And we all know that Putin is notorious for breaking those ceasefires, right? So let's take a quick look at that post first, and then we'll go from there. Let me quickly pull it up for you guys and we'll take a look at it. So this is the actual post right here. And it says, I just finished speaking by telephone with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. The call lasted approximately 1 hour and 15 minutes. We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that would lead to immediate peace. Really, no kidding. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on their airfields. So, common sense would dictate here that if you're the president of the United States or any leader, you would say, listen, Putin, you got to stop this. Let's work something out here. Let's make it, so that both sides are happy, and let's, get these get this ceasefire going. At least let's start with the ceasefire. But again, I have a feeling that, Donald Trump is just giving Putin leeway and giving him time to just annihilate Ukraine and fire back. But Ukraine's smart. They're smart. They're using intelligence. They're doing what they can to protect what's theirs. Putin, on the other hand, I have a feeling, again, he has no... he doesn't want peace. I think he's looking to take over, Ukraine, and it could be very dangerous for everybody. It could be very dangerous for a lot of countries. This is, if you look at the world right now, there's wars everywhere. You've got, destruction in Ukraine and in Russia. You've got absolute genocide going on in Palestine. Israel is basically decimating them. You look towards India and Pakistan. Thank God, at least there's some sort of ceasefire there. But the tensions are still there. Donald Trump, he's not happy with Iran. And he's looking to basically start a war with them. Yemen's in the mix. It's unfortunate to see that the world is falling apart like that. But the point I'm trying to make here is that if you look at most of the wars, there is one common denominator: Donald J. Trump. He is a warmonger. Okay, when he was campaigning, he was saying that, I'm your president who wants no war, but right now it's completely changed. But let's continue on with the post. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that would lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. We also discussed Iran and the fact that the time is running out on Iran's decision pertaining to nuclear weapons, which must be made quickly. I stated to President Putin that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and on this, I believe that we are in agreement. President Putin suggested he will participate in the discussions with Iran and that he could perhaps be helpful in getting this brought to a rapid conclusion. It is my opinion that Iran has been slow walking their decision on this very important matter and will need a definitive answer in a very short period of time. So, going to Iran just for a quick moment, I don't want to digress too much, but Donald Trump ripped up the deal himself. President Obama had finalized a deal with Iran regarding the nuclear weapons and, the whole strategy behind it. Donald Trump comes along, because he's a petulant little child, he rips up the agreement. And now he wants to sign a new one, and being, if you are Iran, would you really want to trust another agreement from Donald Trump? seeing what's going on right now. I personally wouldn't. But without digressing, let's get back to this. There is a quick video that I do want to show you as well too, and that is the Ukraine's MP kind of response to this post as well too, and I think she was as baffled as the rest of us were. So let's take a quick look at that as well too. Again, it is quite, like I said, it's pretty surprising for me to see such a response from a world leader. But let's take a look at that video very quickly. It is very short, and there it is.
When I read President Trump's statement, I was just asking one question. Did the leader of the democratic world just give a blessing for Putin's another attack on Ukraine? And I'm just like, this is so absurd, and this is so disgraceful for everyone who is fighting right now, but also for everyone who is watching. And the question is, why are they not more afraid? What Russia can do if Ukraine fails. By the way, we don't plan to fail. Yeah. We will continue fighting. We are not going to capitulate. But right now, trying to swap the table and paint Russia as a victim and Ukraine as an aggressor, I'm just like, is it not clear by this moment who is an aggressor and that Ukraine is defending itself? It's like, does President of the United States want to ally with Russia? Because it just doesn't seem right. None of that seems right. And the worst thing, Isa, is that people from the front line will be giving calls and asking the question of what's going on. And there is no good answer to explain to them what is happening and why is the President of the United States is saying what he's saying.
And I bumped into you upstairs just before you came down, and I could see how really visibly...
So, if you're listening and you're watching this, you could see what she stated was that, people in the front lines are actually calling and asking, and saying, hey, what is going on? What is the answer? And unfortunately, they cannot provide an answer. So, Ukraine, obviously, the soldiers want peace. They want to go back to their normal lives. But this tug of war right now between Putin and between Trump is not helping anybody. But let's continue with the video. It is very fascinating.
Angry you were with those words.
Because it's not just some words, because it's basically my life, my relative's life, my neighbor's life is at stake. Every next missile, every next drone attack could be the final one for someone, for people that I love, for me personally. And this is why I'm angry, because if it was in some parallel world and we were just discussing some people, it would be one thing. But it is very real. In Ukraine, everything is very real.
I mean, Nick was saying, our diplomatic editor, you heard him there, Kira, talking about the mixed messaging we're getting from this administration. It's not the first time I've heard it. But does this sound like a president who is ready to impose sanctions on Russia? Because only 2 weeks ago, I think he said, well, give me 2 weeks to figure it out. Does this sound like a president who's prepared to put a red line, who's prepared to give Russia some stick? Because that does not sound like that to me.
It's another painful matter, Isa, because we have done everything by the book. We have done things that we said that we would never do. We have voted for this rare minerals deal, just giving away our rare minerals. President Zelensky has come to Istanbul, something that he said that he would never do, never negotiate with Putin. We have gone through everything, agreed to a 30-day ceasefire. So President Trump seemed to put pressure on Ukraine, but we have not seen him putting any kind of pressure on Russia. And it's not even...
So I've got to agree with Kira Rudik here. I'm sorry I paused the video one more time, but I have to agree with Kira here. You can see that, again, the concessions mainly have come from Ukraine's side. President Zelensky did go to Istanbul for, peace negotiations. He was willing to sign a mineral deal, which was clearly not in his favor. So he's definitely willing to give concessions. And again, this is why we all say, and I say as well too, that Donald Trump has basically capitulated to Vladimir Putin, right? He's not pressuring Vladimir Putin to do anything. And this was very clear from the beginning, during the election time, both during Trump's rally or his president's elections during with Clinton. She said it as well too, Hillary Clinton, that he's a puppet. And same thing with Kamala Harris. She stated the same thing. And I think it has become abundantly clear right now that Putin has him on a string and is just playing him along. Again, I personally believe that Putin has no intentions of signing any peace deal or any temporary ceasefire. But without further ado, let's continue with the video.
Mixed messages. It's a very straightforward message, which says, I will negotiate with aggressor and I will put pressure on the victim. It is not leading us anywhere right now because there has not been any single fact that would prove that Putin wants to end the war. Because you know what these facts would be? He would just stop attacking us or he would come to negotiating table. So this illusion that you can agree with Putin on something just exists in the White House right now, alone perhaps somewhere else in Kremlin. And this is why it is so painful, because we are losing time, we are losing people, we are losing the ability to get support from the United States. And it just seems such a bad message to all the world, to all the other aggressors who are clearly watching that they can start a full-scale aggression, commit all kinds of the war crimes, and then they can delay and play around. President Trump looks very weak right now because he didn't get anything from Putin as of right now for what he wanted from him. Anything.
Where then does this leave any sort of negotiations? As you heard me saying there, Pete Hegseth wasn't there, the US Defense Secretary wasn't in these talks, Ukraine Defense Minister was there, along with 50 others or so, clearly standing united with Ukraine in terms of Europeans. But What is the message that the United States is giving, and where does that leave any sort of ceasefire negotiations? Because Ukraine has showed up at every single meeting.
Yeah, we have done everything. So I think we need to come back to Munich Security Conference when J.D. Vance was very clear saying that Europe needs to take care of its own security by itself.
Yeah.
So this is where we're going.
Do you think this is where it's going? Do you think the US is going to pull out of this?
Well, let's look at the facts. If in 2 weeks or 3 weeks we will get additional package of the military support from US, then I will be wrong. But right now we don't know if that's going to happen.
This is what Putin wants, Kira.
Yeah, that's right. And this is why I'm asking why are people not afraid more of what's going to happen? Because again, coming back to the ceasefire question, again, the question is not answered. What will make sure, or who will make sure that Putin will keep his part of the bargain, even if there is a ceasefire? Because since 2014, Isa, we have been in so many ceasefires with them, and it never worked. It led us to the situation when Russia launched full-scale invasion. The only thing that worked for us for the last 11 years was to fight back. And this is what we are doing, and this is what we intend to do. We didn't say we want a negotiation and we believe in ceasefire. This was an illusion coming from the White House. And right now, this illusion is just breaking down.
Breaking down, Ukraine, though, has been fighting back quite ferociously, showing that it still has cards to play. Kira, really appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much indeed. Kira Rubik there.
So you can see clearly that Ukraine is also very frustrated. It seems like Putin just does not want to agree to anything. He's continuing to cause chaos, and Putin's another war criminal as well too. Again, talk all I'm seeing on the battlefront right now, whether it be with Gaza, with Ukraine, it's all just talks. The only way to get through to these two war criminals, and when I say war criminals, I mean Vladimir Putin, and I mean Benjamin Netanyahu, is to now go forward with the embargoes and these sanctions, isolate them and force them to sign these treaties, these ceasefires and peace treaty deals, right? Because they're not going to do it. I mean, and right now the main point, and the main focal point, I should say, is the innocent victims in this unnecessary wars, whether it be children, women, innocent men, civilians who are just trying to work for their families, and who are dying, and are caught in the crossfire here. So again, my opinion is, sanctions, heavy sanctions, embargoes, and take it to both Benjamin Netanyahu and take it to Vladimir Putin, and you have to corner them, because it is not going to work. I think everybody in the world really does deserve peace. I think we all want that. It'll be better for everybody in the world. This warmongering has to stop. Come on. And the other thing is that Donald Trump's got to grow a pair of balls, and he's got to keep his word throughout his entire tenure so far. His second tenure right now, I should say, in the White House. He has not done anything besides lie. He has jeopardized the lives of millions of people through warmongering. He has, turned the economy upside down. He's jeopardized the lives of his own citizens, and he's spreading false propaganda. And on top of that, he lives in this bubble where he's telling everybody, oh yeah, everything's great, inflation is gone, the eggs prices are low. He's delusional and he's demented, and that brings up the point, or the question, I say rather, that he's really fit to run office. Is it time where you plead the 25th, or you invoke the 25th, right, or you impeach him, because he is the common denominator in a lot of the things that are going on. Anyways, if you did enjoy my content and you enjoyed my rant and my explanations, which are getting better, by the way, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be dropping new videos almost every week. Your support means a lot to me. And just as a final reminder, 50% of all income that I generate through any of my channels goes directly to charities or to people in need. And coming soon as well is the live talks. So you'll be able to call me and we can talk, and you can tell me what's going on, and we can chat about everything. I want to be there for you guys. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.